Hello there guys, it's LaserBeast here. Now, do you like going fast? If you said no, I am very disappointed. But if you said yes, then this video is for you. It's full of tips on how to make yourself speedier in World of Warcraft, so how to move faster, how to loot faster, and plenty of tips along the way for every single class with some spec-specific ones. And we're going to talk about what are the fastest classes in the game as well. So you probably already know that engineering is one of the most useful professions in the game, and you can get yourself the Nitro Boost Tinker to attach to your belt, which will give you a mad burst of speed on a 2-minute cooldown that is shared with potions, so do bear that in mind. Now all you need to do to get your hands on these is to obviously be an engineer, and you'll just need to level up your Northrend engineering to level 30 to be able to make them. So you can use these pretty much anywhere except arenas as far as I'm aware, so you can use these in Mythic Plus dungeons, in raiding and in battlegrounds, but do bear in mind that sometimes, for example in Mythic Plus keys, the speed boost won't be at its full power. It is a slightly nerfed version of the speed boost, but it is still a speed boost nonetheless, so it can help you get, catch up to your group if you're not a very mobile class like me or my Warlock, or just to get out of some danger zones. Also, from being an engineer, you can create the Goblin Glider kits, which will save you massive amount of time if you haven't unlocked flying yet, or you're in an area where you can't fly. You can use these to save massive amounts of time. But anybody can also just buy these off the auction house and use them. Definitely worth just buying a stack of these for all your characters, and then whenever you need them, they're there to come in handy. So here's another weird little tip that you've probably stumbled across if you've played this game for a while. When you're flying into a building, sometimes if you try and stay as high up as possible, you can sometimes fly into the building for quite a way and cover quite a big distance. This is probably affected by latency, and I don't know why it happens, but it can save you quite a bit of time, so there you go. And before we get into the class specific things, here is one that everyone can make use of. If you're using a speed boost such as Sprint or the Nitro boosts, just before the ability runs out as you're still moving forward, just make sure that you jump so that that jump is empowered by your movement speed and you'll go even further. This is quite a minor thing, but it's just a good habit to build and then make use of over time. So which classes are the speediest? So there's 3 that I want to talk about in this video. So first of all, we'll go with Druid, which is probably the most common answer. So Druids are just quick on baseline. If you go Feral, you've got movement speed from cat form and feline swiftness with dash and tiger dash as options of even further speed boosts. You've also got the Oath of the Elder Druid Legendary, which can improve your feline swiftness even further, as well as the Tireless Pursuit Conduit from Shadowlands. You've also got Travel Form and Wild Charge, which you can make use of. And a tip for that ability specifically, so if you're in Travel Form and you're jumping off a cliff, for example, and you've also talented into Wild Charge, when you're in Travel Form, your Wild Charge will basically make you leap forwards. Now this will totally negate any fall damage if you time it right. You just want to do your jump, and then as you get to where you're about to land, do a Wild Charge, and you even get bonus points if you then swap into Cat Form as you're falling, because you'll take reduced damage while you're in Cat Fall from fall damage, so you basically won't take any damage. Super smooth, you're like a right badass doing it. My god, that's Jason Bourne. You can also use the Flap ability when you're in Moonkin form. If you're a Moonkin, then you can cover big distances on there. It's basically like a slow fall. Another class that's really good for running on dungeons and being speedy in general is the Hunter. So Hunters can take the Trailblazer talent, and they've also got aspect of the Cheetah as a sprint ability. They can also use Born to be Wild to reduce the cooldown of it by 20%. The Trailblazer talent, as you may have noticed, is removed when you attack, so you can be attacked by a mob or a player, but as long as you don't retaliate, you do keep the speed buff, so bear that in mind. You can also add in the Conduit, Cheetah's Vigor, to make aspects of the Cheetah last longer and reduce its cooldown even further. Hunters also have the option to use a Cunning Pet, which will give you a flat 8% movement speed buff. And they can take the talent Post Haste, which means that you'll get a speed buff every time your disengage lands. So another good tip I've got for you with disengage is to do what I like to call the reverse disengage 180 special. So what you need to do when you're moving forward, if you jump into the air, use your mouse to quickly turn to face backwards and then hit disengage. You're basically going to leap backwards in the direction that you want to go, and then you can turn your camera around as you're in the air to face forward again, so that when you land, you get the speed buff and you go flying off and all your friends think you're really cool. It takes a bit of practice to get used to doing this right. You may end up flying off the edge of a cliff or something in the meantime, but once you get it down, it's really worth using. Another class that's worth mentioning for being quite a speedy guy is the Warrior. So Warriors can make use of the Double Time talent to increase the amount that they can charge, so they cover quite a good distance with the charge ability, and they can also combine this with the Leaper legendary, so they're able to leap and charge pretty much all the time. So as I just mentioned, they've got leap as well, so this is a heroic leap. They can just jump to a location targeted, and they can also use bounding strike talent to combine with this, which is going to reduce the cooldown of heroic leap by 15 seconds and then give you a 70% movement speed buff for 3 seconds afterwards. They'll also want to pick up War Machine, which is going to give you a 30% movement speed buff for 8 seconds after you kill an enemy. Very useful. So if you've got the need for speed, those are the 3 classes that are probably going to find the best results on. Rogues can also be good, but I'm not going to talk about those right now. So let's talk about some racials. So if you're a Zandalari Troll, you can get a built-in Goblin Glider into your racial spells with the Pterodactyl Swoop, which is really nice to have. And with this, plus the Embrace of Gonk racial ability, which gives you a flat 5% movement speed bonus at all times, Zandalari Druids may just be the fastest guys in town. If you're spending a lot of time indoors, you may want to pick up a Dark Iron Dwarf as your speedy character, because for anyone that's doing any dungeon or raid farming, you'll benefit from their racial ability, which gives 4% faster movement speed when you're indoors. Night Elves also get some benefit, which is not as good as the others, but they do have a passive 2% movement speed thanks to their quickness passive. And also Worgen are quite good as well because they have a sprint-like ability in the form of Dark Flight. It's basically what you get if you order a Rogue's Sprint from Wish, but not quite that bad. So let's talk about Shadowlands speedy stuff. So Covenants do bring some nice speed bonuses for all the classes, as well as some class or spec specific ones, but the best all-round Covenant you can go for if you want a speedy experience is the Night Fae. So these have got plenty of passives that you can take to improve your speed through your conduit tree, as well as having Soul Shape. Swift Patrol is quite nice, but it is cancelled by combat, but the other one is Somnambulist. I'm not saying that correctly, because you're likely to have this up from whenever you've been travelling from city to city or from city to raid, so then you can make use of this 20% movement speed buff for 30 minutes. This is probably better if you're just going to go and do, say, one old raid farm, for example, but if you're not going to be going back to a city very often, then it's probably better to take Swift Patrol. Okay, so let's talk about gems, enchants, and gear. So if you've got some gear with some gem sockets in it, then what you can do is pick up one Straddling Jewel Doublet, and then you can also use Straddling Sage Agate with a Straddling Viridium for a combined 8% movement speed bonus. If you only wanted to create a speed gear set and you weren't really bothered about having stats or the eye level, then what you can do is use these gems on any gear above item level 50, so you can use these for example with the benthic armor from BFA to get just like a speed set built up. You could also just buy some gear off the auction house, and if you are doing that, make sure to look for items with the tertiary stat speed on them as well. If you're going to be doing any content that's in the older zones, anything pre-Shadowlands, then you can also use the Azerite gear from BFA too. So anything with the Long Strider perk on it will work nicely, and those can be found in your head, shoulder and chest slots. If you've been lucky and you've had any drops from Shadowlands content that have had the plus speed tertiary stat on them, then keep hold of those and use those, but if not, you can have a look on the auction house and just find pieces of gear with that stat on. So as for enchants, there is a current Shadowlands one called Fortified Speed, which you can apply to your cloak. As for feat, the ones you can get usually only apply to gear lower than item level 50, but you can get enchants such as Enchant Boots minus speed that will give you a slight speed boost. Now as for consumables, you'll want to use either the fried bonefish or the bear tartare. Now both do the same thing, with the fried bonefish giving you more speed as it's the Shadowlands version of the bear tartare. The benefit from these two food items do suffer from quite heavy diminishing returns, so if you do already have a lot of passive speed boosts, then you probably will only get a minimal benefit from these items, but if you're really serious about your speed, then it is worth doing. For any older content farming where your item level and stats really don't matter that much, make sure you're also using the Heart of Azeroth with the Azerite gear as we mentioned before. This is to make sure that you can benefit from the Long Strider passives, but also that you can use the Ripple in Space Essence for a nice flat 5% movement speed bonus, as well as a handy teleport effect that may come in useful. So for anybody that uses two-handed swords, you can also pick up the Runeblade of Baron Riverdare, which has a nice little speed bonus attached to it. It is a very old sword, so it only use this if you're very serious about maximising your speed and you don't really care about stats. As a final bonus before we talk about some add-ons that can help, if you're a hunter or shaman or in Dragonflight an evoker, you can pick up the Boots of the Gilded Path. Now these will give you a 30% speed bonus whenever you pick up gold. It can be silver or copper as well, so these are amazing for raid and dungeon farming. These drop from Opulence in the Battle of Dazor raid on any difficulty if you want to go and get those. Good luck! So there are some add-ons that you can use to help you with your speed in general, and these are Auto Loot Plus or Leatrix Plus, or you can even use Faster Loot. Now these are going to make the process of looting itself a lot quicker and save you a lot of time. You can use this macro in the description. I'll put it on the screen, but it's in the description if you want to copy it into the game, which will show you your stats, or you can use an add-on such as Deja Character Stats or Monkey Speed to see an accurate calculation of your movement speed in-game. And with that said, guys, that wraps up the video on how to be fast and not be a slow pants in World of Warcraft. I do hope that you found the video useful and that you've learned something from this. If you have, please leave me a comment, tell me what you've learned, and if you've got any other tips, please leave them in the comments too. Thank you very much for taking the time to watch this video today. If you do enjoy this kind of content, please leave the video a like and consider subscribing to see more from me. I do lots of guides on World of Warcraft and I'll be continuing to do so throughout Dragonflight and beyond. Thank you very much again for watching. I've been LazyBeast and I'll catch you next time. Cheers.